What's going on, everyone? This is Matt Squeaky Clean Air, and today we are doing an installation of a used airlift strut kit on a Mazda 3 2016. It's a kit now discontinued by Airlift. It's no longer available, but we are installing a Squeaky Clean Air digital SQ Pro 5 management featuring two dual compressors, management manifold, 4-gallon airlift tank. Stay tuned. All right, so here it is. Here's the Mazda 3. And here is a pretty decent condition, I must say, used airlift kit that he managed to pick up for under $1,000, which is a steal of a deal. However, a couple things to look for when it comes to used kits. And one of the couple things that you guys are going to encounter is, one, a lot of the stuff, especially if you buy it from a snowbelt region, a lot of stuff is seized. So be prepared to unseize a lot of seized bolts, a lot of seized nuts, a lot of the brackets that Airlift is known for, especially like their retention brackets that they use on a lot of the rear bags. For example, one that's over here that goes inside the actual frame are now bent because they've been on the car, which means that they no longer just thread in easily as it is on the manual. There's obviously some rust involved where a lot of the brackets are rusted. This is expected on a used kit. So, when you guys are purchasing used kits, obviously the first thing you need to do is change all the fittings. Don't assume that the fittings are in good condition. Like, for example, the person that was running this airlift kit doesn't even use the airlift fittings. I wonder why. Most likely because Airlift didn't ship the 3/8 fittings anymore, and this person was running a 3/8 line setup on a Mazda 3, which is overkill. It is not a truck, but some people like it to be airing up and down fast, so they choose to run bigger lines. So these fittings will have to go because these are non-dot rated fittings. Some piece of shit fittings, no offense, that you can find at a local store that are not necessarily rated or designed for usage in air suspension. They may work, but they might not necessarily be able to be rated for the right pressure. So at any time, if you have a really, really, really warm day, if these fittings are not rated up to, say, for example, 200, 250 PSI, they might burst and blow unexpectedly. So you might have a line blowout, which you don't want to have on the highway. So it's one of the reasons why you don't buy $2 or $3 fittings. But anyways, other things to look for, obviously you have the threads are no longer minty, so you might have to rethread them. These bags are not too bad. They're not cracked. Airlift uses pretty decent quality rubbers, so a lot of their stuff doesn't really crack. But any kind of like rubbing, this one doesn't have any rubbing, which is really, really, really good. So all I'm saying is that when you guys are purchasing used parts, make sure that you inspect them. And also be prepared to spend any additional money that's included with the installation, meaning, don't assume that when you do take it to an installer professional shop, they'll just be able to directly put it in. Chances are that you are going to have to spend some additional money, which pretty much sometimes might equate the value of purchasing a full new kit. Like, for example, this is one of the retainer brackets that this gentleman got with his kit. The problem with this retainer bracket, let me remove it from the vise, is that this retainer bracket is bent. And the reason why it's bent is because it sits inside the frame over here. Let me show you guys. kind of goes under, and airlift is really, really known for that. It goes actually inside here and it creates a mounting spot or a threaded spot, which later you thread the bag into. But the problem is, the reason why it's bent is because there's been put a lot of force on the actual bracket. So as it was sitting inside there, actually inside the frame, it bent because the force forced it to actually bend this bracket. This bracket is just what, 1/4 inch steel. It is not, actually might even be, no, it's steel, but it's a very, very weak steel. So what happened is the actual bracket bent, and because it bent, the threads inside, because these are pre-threaded brackets, let me see if I can get it in there. See it? There's little threads in there, but the problem is because it's bent, the threads are no longer mint, which means that if you are going to actually try to install this, and so you can see the deterioration, and no matter if you buy a brand new airlift kit or whatever, and they'll give you tons of marketing in regards to how resistant it is and rust coated and all that and bullshit. I mean, if you live in a snow region, you're going to get rust. So all the nice, beautiful black coating, at the end of the day, it's steel, right? Look, it's rusted steel, but it's still pretty strong. So it does a job. But the point I'm trying to make is because this bracket is so bent, it distorted the actual threads, which means that if you were to actually just take it, put it in that subframe piece that you have in there, or that subframe opening, and you assume that everything is going to be hunky-dory, and your thread, or so your screw that threads in here, is going to just slide in easily and connect, you are wrong. What you're probably going to do is you're going to cross thread this thing, and when you cross thread this thing, imagine this being stuck in your subframe of the actual car, cross-threaded the actual bolt to it. This just would be a nightmare to remove. So any kind of retainer brackets like that, especially on airlift products when you're installing used, not new so much because new really don't suffer from this, just pay attention to any threaded pieces, because make sure that the threads are minty. So I've used a top, obviously, with the right thread top in order to rethread it. So now if I put the actual screw or bolt that goes with it, it's going minty, and it screws in minty without any resistance, which is what you want. You don't want any resistance, because resistance creates cross-threading. So these are just some of the pointers to look at when you're installing used. There's absolutely nothing installed used. I try not to install used struts because of these particular reasons, because it delays installations. I don't mind in this case because this customer purchased some additional products from us, so it's good. He's really happy. He did get a really good deal on the air strut kit, don't get me wrong. I haven't taken it for a ride yet because, of course, we didn't install it, right? I didn't put it in the car, so I don't know how it handles. But assuming that it's good, the seller assured him that it's good. Obviously, sellers will always say everything nice in order to make sure that they make the sale. But it seems like a legit seller. The buyer kind of knows the seller a little bit. So I'm hoping that this is going to be flawless. And from the looks of it looks okay. So I'm just about to put in the rears right now. I was able to put in the other side. And it's in here. It's kind of floating right now, but it has a retainer bracket on the bottom. Airlift is known for using 2Ps or 3Ps designs, usually a lower mount bracket, a bag in the middle, and then an upper bracket, and that kind of constitutes their rear setups, because the rear setups are they're actually based on 2 bag designs, which are over here. It's a great research that Airlift did. It's a great company. I like using their products. But I like mine as well too, because ours are research and they're specific to certain vehicles as well. So we offer an amazing brand as well with Squeaky Clean Air. But anyways, that's a discussion for another time. We're not here to compare, which it's not a pissing match. Both systems are amazing, but these are some of the things to look out for, like bent brackets that you guys are going to have to rethread. Seized lower mounts, notorious on any kind of used strut or coilover setup. So pay attention to those. That's why when you're going to be putting them in, make sure they're seized. These ones are already seized, so I'm not even going to bother try to removing them, but they are kind of set to what is appropriate for this car to get a nice drop. So I'm not going to really touch them too much or play with them because I'm not here to refurbish this setup, because that was not part of the deal. The deal was just to put them directly in and do the installation. So I'll try to do as much as I can. I'm already going a little bit above and beyond to change the fittings and upgrade them with some new 1/4 inch fittings, because the management is 1/4 inch. So those are some of the additional costs you need to factor into. If you do have C's lower mounts, that's going to be pretty bad, because if you don't like the drop that you're getting at this, set height, you're kind of going to be stuck with what you get, right? You will never be able to shorten the actual shock and get, maximum drop that you're looking for, because of course you need to expect C's lower mounts, right? The bags are in good condition. As I said, there's no cracks, so he's lucky in regards to the bags. So this car will drop, but he will not have, the customization option that you would normally have if you were to purchase a brand new kit, because a brand new kit will function correctly. It'll give you the adjustment that you need, right? But so far so good. It looks to be good. So this is just sort of like a couple things that you guys need to look for that are not really mentioned in a lot of the installation videos, that could help you in the future, especially when you're buying a used kit. So all the best, and squeaky clean air out. All right, so just to demonstrate, this is the magnitude of what you guys are dealing with. If you don't have that retainer bracket, now it sits over here. And then if you guys can see on the bottom, let me show you. The actual bolt that goes in here, goes in through here. And then the actual blade, or the actual piece, is inside here. It's inside here, and then the actual bag mounts to this mount. And then you have a cutout here for the fitting, for it to go insert, so you're able to route it and stuff like that, so there's no issues. But if, God forbid, that bracket in there was not threaded correctly, or was cross-threaded, or was stripped, or you guys didn't restore the actual threads, if this thing would cross-thread, it would not tighten up all the way. It would just sort of sit there. You'd have to literally cut the bolt off, go through just a pain in the ass of a headache, at least spend a good hour to try to loosen it up, and then get the bracket out, and then the bracket might not come out because now you've cut the bolt, so now the actual diameter of the bracket is a lot bigger, because keep in mind it's a very small opening hole that's in there, and the bracket that goes in there. So you're compromising a lot of the issues, and that's probably one of the things you guys might have to look at when you're actually buying a used kit. Some of these things need to be factored in. So when you purchase a new kit, there's a lot less thought involved than when you purchased a used kit. It's not just a matter of slapping it and putting it in the car. No, guys. Do not make that assumption or expectation from your installer, right? Your installer on average will charge you more money to install a used kit. Otherwise, they're just silly, and they're literally paying you to install this. I wouldn't. I'd have to charge extra, because there's a lot more work that's involved, right? If you guys are able to find a sucker, good for you, but you're probably not going to get a good service out of it. And if you do, you're just extremely lucky. But that would require an additional hour, or at least 2, of tinkering around with a used kit that's supposed to technically fit, but it doesn't because of some of these inconsistencies. So some of the things to look out for when you're purchasing a kit, and some of the things to factor in, that sometimes that if you save that $300, $400, $500 in a used kit, you actually end up paying a lot more. So that's just a little bit of a food for thought for you guys.
Yeah.